I'd like to take this story before I come to you, talking about, politicians funding terrorism. Meanwhile, former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor, has alleged that some politicians are funding terrorism in Nigeria and that Christians are being targeted in certain parts of the country. Irabor spoke on live television, stating that while he was Chief of Defense Staff, some trials were initiated against individuals identified as financiers of terrorism, noting that several people are being called to question over their alleged involvement. He also stated that Christians are being targeted in the country, adding that there are many individuals who are being investigated for their roles in funding terrorist activities. Let's take a look.
But the reality is that our issues, or in terms of security challenges, are multifaceted, implying that just as you have terrorists who have an ideology, you equally have those who are bent on, targeting Christians, and there are also those who are, also targeting communities. That does not mean that some politicians have not taken advantage of the insecurity of, if you like, the state of under governance, as it were, if I may use that coinage, to want to perhaps gain some form of leverage to score the point that there is poor governance. They could also instigate certain crises in one way or the other.
So, General, for a fact, Christians are being targeted.
Of course, some Christians are being targeted.
For a fact, politicians are funding terror in this country.
Some politicians. Yeah. If I wouldn't want to say.
So when I say politicians, that means that there are the politicians who are funding it.
Well, this is a significant revelation from a former Chief of Defense Staff. Although he did not name specific politicians or provide details about the ongoing investigations, the allegations that politicians are funding terrorism raises serious questions about the depth of the security crisis and whether it is purely a military problem or a political one with powerful interests benefiting from the chaos. Meanwhile, the regional leader of the Church of Christ in Nations, Reverend Ezekiel Dachimo, who has consistently been outspoken about the issue of Christian genocide in Nigeria, condemned the fact that Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima are both Muslims. Speaking on live television on Monday, Dachimo called the move a complete genocide against Christians. Let's take a look.
And Shettima is a Muslim. The president is the Muslim. Is that not complete genocide to Christian in the political war? A complete genocide. They are displaying Islamic agenda. They want to control the whole country.
Dachimo there saying that the Muslim ticket is a Christian genocide. I mean, this is not a new controversy. The Muslim ticket was one of the most contentious issues of the 2023 presidential election, with many Christian leaders and groups opposing it on grounds that it violated Nigeria's unwritten principle of religious balance in governance. Reverend Dachimo's characterization of it as a complete genocide is particularly a strong language, which many may not agree with. Dr. Abati, I'd like for you to tie in both stories. First, with the Chief of Defense Staff, saying that there's an ongoing investigation on the issue of, politicians funding or those that are funding terrorism in Nigeria. And also, on the other hand, Dachimo here has, raised that controversy again about the Muslim ticket in Nigeria.
Okay.
I believe the last time there was one.
Things. Now, General Lucky Irabor was Chief of Defense Staff.
Yes.
And here was he in a television interview saying that some politicians, some major figures are funding terrorism. Well, it's not saying anything new. Mm-hmm. The Americans at the time, the State Department, in fact, said, terrorism in Nigeria, banditry in Nigeria was being funded by certain notable figures. And I think they collaborated with the Nigerian government. I think it was also the United Arab Emirates at the time who named some Nigerians that they said were involved in terrorism financing within the spectrum of cooperation, international cooperation to fight this challenge. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit also at the time came forward and said they were trying some people, investigating some people. The question is, what happened with all those investigations? What happened with the persons who were being investigated? And then General Lucky Rabo, as CDS, being a chief of defense staff, is a major position. You know, he has access to a lot of information. What I would have expected would have been for the former chief of defense staff to say, oh, these are some of the persons, or this was the point we reached. Because Nigerians will know, who are those persons? Everybody says they exist, but nobody has done anything to them. So this reign of impunity continues. Now, as for the National Security Advisor going to Kutangura to meet the Catholic Bishop of Kutangura Diocese, the proprietor of St. Mary's Primary and Secondary School, and also the parents of the affected over 300 students. I said earlier, that shows empathy. It's a reaffirmation of the fact that the Nigerian government, the Tinubu administration, has been consistent in identifying with people when they are, facing distress. And they've improved in terms of their response time. That same place, the federal government had sent a team there before, issued a statement. Now the National Security Advisor goes there and says, we will do whatever it takes to make sure that the remaining children are freed. And I think that, that is good in terms of optics, as I said earlier on. The thing to suggest is that the National Security Advisor should keep his promise, not only with the children in Niger State, in Papiri, that's where the school is located, but generally across the country, so that this environment can be safe for all of us. You talked about the northern governors. The northern governors have been meeting since 1955, either with education or they say they want to address poverty and all of that. And anytime they meet like that, we see it as a good gesture, good initiative. After all, their job as leaders, as government, is to defend the interests of their people. But the major concern here is that these meetings often do not yield concrete results. And we just hope that this particular meeting, this time around, by the Northern Governors Forum, will not be another talk show. They say they are creating a Northern Security Trust Fund. That Northern Security Trust Fund will have to be managed. And the management will have to be in collaboration with the existing security infrastructure. As for suspension of licenses, I said in September, Mr. Dele Alake, the Minister of Solid Minerals, already took a step in that direction. But there can be collaboration to make sure that the states work with the federal government.
Yes,
the
I
devil
like that.
is in the details.
The devil is in the details. They have to collaborate to work with the federal government with these steps that you have said that Dele Alake has put in place. But I do welcome that suspension, and hopefully those region or the mining region will be free from banditry for a bit. So good one on the northern governors there.